Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers and sisters. I hope you enjoyed your break, whether you've had tea, coffee, sarbat, whatever it is. Welcome back to Real Talk. I'm your host, Iqbal Bana. We've been talking about Muslim children in the care system, and I have with me, Saqib from the Muslim Foster Network. He is the operations manager. Previously, we had Shadim Hussain, who is the coordinator of the Muslim Foster Network, on my program on 3 occasions when we talked about the importance of wanting more and more families, Muslim families, joining the foster network, becoming foster parents, and providing a home for the 5,000 or so children who are in the care home system at this moment in time, and how people's experiences of becoming foster parents have enhanced their lives. I mean, I remember on the last time we spoke, we did this program on foster care issues. There was one sister who rang in and she said, I've been married for 7-8 years, and I was trying to, for a child. We went through all the process of trying to have a conceive, and in the end we felt that the only thing we could do, because I so really wanted to have a child in my life, that we started fostering. And after the process of navigating through all the processes, she became a foster mother, and she took on, I think it was a 2-year-old little young baby. And within 12 to 18 months of having taken this baby on, this young child, Allah blessed her with her own child. And she was so happy. And she credited the fact that she became pregnant, even though she tried IVF and other stuff, that nothing had worked, was solely because Allah had recognized what she's done and rewarded her by blessing her with her own child. So these experiences are absolutely important on both levels, not just for the children themselves, but the families, the mothers and the fathers who take on this responsibility. And we heard from other parents as well who said that they've taken on children, sometimes who had difficult behavioral issues, but they found it very, very rewarding to try and nurture those children in a way that will help that children to grow up as a better adult. But also, much more importantly, one of the key factors that drove these parents to become foster carers was the fact that they wanted to impart on these children the Islamic ethos, Islamic culture and Islamic environment, to try and keep those children within the preserve of Islam. So today I have Nargis Qayyumi with me, who, as I said at the beginning of the program in the first part, that she herself had been in the care system, and she had somebody who actually helped her keep her identity intact. And Nargis, you said that this person was influential in your life. Do you feel that if that person had not been around, that the chances of you retaining your identity, and particularly the Islamic identity, would have been sort of receded?
I think I would have struggled.
Would you?
I would have definitely struggled, because when you're in care and the experiences that you're exposed to, the different cultures, the different, everyone's belief system is so different. And the young people that you're around, their troubles almost become your troubles, because you share that home with them, you share that environment with them. And it's very easy in such an environment to entangle into those things. And I think for me, what I valued from this experience in terms of having a person I could identify with is that I had someone who held me accountable to my actions. Because she was able to, without being oppressive, without it being, no, but Islam says this, without being vigorous like that, she held me accountable to my actions simply by asking me those crucial questions in those crucial moments where my religion and my culture and the values that my parents embedded in me from a young age would constantly come back up.
Subhanallah.
Yeah. And I think when you don't have that person, you struggle to take a step back and reflect before you react.
Right.
So I think that's the bit that's crucial.
So her constantly giving you that supportive advice, that as a Muslim, maybe perhaps you should be doing it this way rather than that way, although you had influences around you which may have been driving you to something else. I know young people who got involved with young teenage friends, they go clubbing, etc., etc., and therefore they've not had that sort of ethos and that structure around them.
Yeah.
Have sort of strayed.
Yeah.
But mashallah, some of them come back into again. So, I mean, with your sister, obviously, you've tried to develop that ethos as well.
Yes.
And now, obviously, you have your own children as well, I presume.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you foster? I mean, is your sister's obviously now?
Yeah.
Through the system, I presume, or is she still
yeah,
with you?
Yeah, so she turned 18 and she still stayed with me
Oh, right.
on a staying put placement, it's called, which is an option that local authorities do offer.
Right.
She's now bidded for her own flat and she would like to move on and live independently, and that's something that, like Shakib has said, it's a support that I would always provide for her, not simply because she's my sister, but because she's lived with me for 5 years.
Right.
And I would do that to any child who comes through my door. Yeah, like the way the support worker was my consistent person, I am that consistent person for my sister.
And do you feel that because you have a strong Islamic identity yourself and a strong belief system, that you've actually been able to sort of reflect that into your sister as well and sort of transmit that, into your sister as well?
100%.
Right.
100%. Because how you run your house, the values you carry on with your own family, and the consistency in being able to show that in your home and hold yourself accountable as a parental figure, I think that's quite important, very important, if anything.
Right.
And I think if I look back at if my social worker was the Muslim person that I valued and that I looked up to, would that experience have been the same as the support workers? I don't know. And I don't, looking at it from a social work perspective, no, because social workers see their young people once every 6 weeks,
Right.
If they're stable, and once every 4 weeks if they're not stable. So there is an element of inconsistency there in that person's not always there. I mean, my support worker was on shift at least 3-4 times a week.
Well,
So I
just gonna- yeah, I was just
consistently
gonna ask,
saw
yeah.
her.
Yeah.
And she was consistently there. And if I needed immediate access to her opinion, her value, her thoughts, or just to sit down and tell her what I was struggling with, she was there.
Right.
She was easily accessible to me. So yeah.
I mean, or whoever this social worker was that was there to support Nargis in her time of need, may Allah bless her and give her the highest reward because of your work and your effort. Nargis has become the person that she is, mashallah, very good. Now, I mean, coming back to the social work support, which you say is very important, I know that social services are under a lot of strain at the moment. They've lost social workers left, right and centre. Now, I know in the care side of it, caring for our elderly people, etc., there used to be one sort of social worker allocated to the person, and that was it. But now that system's gone, so it's whoever's on duty becomes the support. Is there stability in the support network in social services when it comes to children in care, or is that disappeared as well?
I think it's different in every team you go to, and it's difficult to pinpoint what that consistency looks like because each local authority, has their own set of values and set of ethoses that they work towards.
Right.
And I think speaking of it from a local authority perspective, children's wishes and feelings are at the heart of practice. And I think that's very difficult to achieve when the level of inconsistency, like you mentioned, in terms of change of social workers is so high.
If that relationship is not developed, is it?
Exactly. So whilst the practice, in practice that needs to be valued, how that works practically is very different, and it looks very different in each local authority. And it's very difficult to say this is how it's done because it's not necessarily like that in the local authorities that you go into. You will see much different practice, and it varies drastically, Shakib, doesn't it?
Well, one of the biggest issue that when we put this question out to foster carers, as in what are the challenges that you're facing, this was the biggest challenge.
Right.
It was the level of change that you have with social workers, that the inconsistency. Sometimes if a child's coming into a home, those foster carers need to know a lot about that child, and what are the. And remember, some of these children that are in care have really gone through some traumatic experiences.
Yes.
So some children might be sexualized. If you've got a child that's coming into your home that's been sexualized, how do you need to know, because you may need to do things in a different way. You may need to change the way, if you've got other children in the house, you may need to think about how you're going to, live together. So these things make a big difference. Not having the consistency of social worker and sometimes not getting that information passed across when it's needed causes challenges, But this isn't just for a Muslim issue.
No,
this is a wider issue.
The board, yeah.
When it comes to identity and when it comes to protecting the the way I like to put this is that the Islam, we talk about Islam sometimes like a religion, like but actually what is it? It's a way of living. For us as Muslims, it's the best way of living. And of course we'd want that for every single person. And we'd want that for these young people. We'd want them to know how they should live in the best way possible. And at the same time, the iman, their faith, that they know that Allah is watching them, and it's a very important point, this, because you don't want children to go out there thinking, no one's looking at me, I can do X, Y, and Z. To instill that Allah is watching you, the taqwa, this is what Ramadan's all about, So that aspect of it, no matter how good a care home might, or a foster carer might be who may not be Muslim, from our perspective as Muslims, those are important parts that get missed out perhaps. And we're not here to make a judgment on people's religion, we're not here to make judgment on people. But of course, we'd want every child to have the best way of living.
And hence the need for more and more Muslims.
Hence the need, yeah.
To put themselves forward to become foster carers. But I mean, moving from social service, organisations like yours,
yes.
the Muslim Foster Network. You said earlier on that you were there to provide support and help parents who want to become foster carers.
That's right.
To navigate through the process. But do you have a team or network of people across the country?
That we do.
If somebody was in Scotland, for example,
that's right,
and they want to become foster carers and they are having to navigate through.
At the moment,
you have people who can help them, or down in Penzance, for example.
Yeah.
Right.
At the moment, with everybody working from home anyway, you can have like people in a local authority working from different cities. We've got people working one from Scotland, one from London. So we've got a at the moment on WhatsApp, a network of foster carers that stay connected, that share, and some of them are very well experienced. 27 years. Foster care and adoptive care, one particular sister. And what that does is that it helps new foster carers or foster carers from different backgrounds to stay connected and even ask questions. Sometimes, a call at 3 o'clock in the morning, a foster carer might need to make that call. This child is behaving in this way and I don't know what to do. They need to talk to somebody. Who do they talk to? If there's somebody that can pick up the phone and say, okay, well, can you do this? Or let me put the child on the phone, let me speak to the child. Those are things that work. And, we want to expand that and turn it into a forum, nationally. And we're in the process of doing that now.
So do you have volunteers as well?
We do.
Yes. So people who volunteer to provide that type of
all of these
support.
foster carers that have come on board in this network are all volunteering to do this.
Right, okay. So that's really good. So obviously for people who might be watching this program, or who, I hope you'll be watching the program, that I hope you've been encouraged to look into this area of foster caring. And if they want help, where can they go? Okay,
so if the first thing I'd say is go to myfosterfamily.com.
Right.
Have a look at our website. Have a look at Muslim Foster Network. We're on, we're on Facebook. Give us a call. Have a conversation with us. Speak to us about what you intend to do. We do like to have these conversations in depth, because we want people to know what they're. I don't want to put people off, but we are moving away from it's not just about having your own child and looking after your own child, which itself for many people will be a bit of a, it's a big thing. You've got your own child, but you're bringing in a child that might sometimes have had trauma, that may have experienced some adverse childhood experiences, or whatever it might be. but you're going to make a difference. And so let's help you, let's set you up, let's make you ready mentally, and also, you know, in whatever else way that we need to, and put you in touch with other people. So give us a call. Now, on a regular basis, we have a fostering event on a Friday.
Yes, I've seen the posters, yeah.
That's right, you've seen the posters. We've just had one last Friday. You know, we had a number of people that asked some really good questions about, you know, becoming a foster. Some of these basic questions like, you know, if I end up with a child who's not a Muslim, what do I do? You know, am I, you know, and we've got all the answers to all of these things. I mean, sometimes the person might find it difficult, you know, especially when it comes to having the conversation with a local authority around, you know, what if the child wants to, you know, to look into an LGBT lifestyle? You know, these are real questions,
Yep.
you know, and we'd say it'd be almost the same as if it was your own child. You know, how would you, you know, what would you do? You wouldn't go with excessive force and force them to, you know, because that wouldn't work.
Right.
You know, you
So
have
obviously
guidance there.
you
We give that guidance.
You provide that level of support and guidance across the whole range of
Exactly.
issues that a person who may want to become a foster parent, you know, may come across.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's on a national basis. I mean, Nargis, obviously, your experience is absolutely really, you know, important for us and our viewers. I mean, as a foster carer, and are you still continuing to be foster care?
Yes.
So, although your sisters may be moving out, do you have foster children at the moment? Are
Yes, I do.
And you have your own children as well?
I have my own children.
MashaAllah.
I have my sister with me, and normally I have 2 placements available.
All right.
But at the minute I have 1 active placement, a teenager.
When you say placement, you mean?
I mean a child in my home.
Into
Yes.
your home,
Yeah.
Okay.
So literally, my house sometimes can be very youthful. And very colourful in terms of the things they want to do with friends and various things like that. So I have toddlers up to youth, and it can be very difficult to coordinate that. But it's challenging, it's tough, but it's...
And for a young person at a very young age,
yeah,
you know, to have taken on this challenge, it's an enormous task that you've taken on. May Allah give
it
you
is.
all the strength and all the support that you need, because, you know, it's really challenging for you, I'm sure. So, I mean, your partner, you know,
Yes.
your partner must be a very supportive person as well, because that's an important component of this
I think that's arguable.
Is it? Oh, right.
He'll be watching this later.
He will be watching
All right.
this.
Yeah.
I think when you're fostering and you know you've got a partner who's supporting you, it's very crucial that you're on the same page. And I think for me that's been a consistency, and that's what's allowed us as a family to move away from just supporting my sister to doing it into mainstream fostering with children who are not Muslim necessarily, but have families who are Muslim, let's say.
Right.
So I think you do need to have a level of support, but there are foster carers out there who are single parents and are doing it.
All right.
There are foster carers out there who have not married and Muslim foster carers who foster, and they don't just foster 1 child, they foster 2, 3 children.
I wasn't aware of that. I thought you had to be a family
Not
to be able
necessarily.
to foster.
Not
That's the
necessarily.
impression I always had. Also, you can you be a single person,
Yeah.
and you can become a foster parent
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously, you know, you have to have the right aptitude and everything
Yes,
else
of course.
to be able to do that, and then
Yeah.
you know, the process will take care of that as well.
Yeah.
No, so finally you've admitted that you have a partner
Yes.
who is a strong support for you, and I'm sure no foster family can work as a unit unless both partners work together as a team. So, you know, thank you for coming. I hope, you know, your travelling up from Nottingham and being with us has not been in vain, and I'm sure our viewers would have been really, really impressed, and I hope empowered by listening and learning from you as a person who was in a care home and, you know, came out of that structure, become a social worker, professional social worker, because we have these stereotypes about people who come out of a care home, don't we, and
Yeah.
fostering. So, mashallah, you know, that's something that is, you know, absolutely, you know, something that I respect and value that you've done. Shakib, thank you for coming.
Thank you too.
You know, we have a different face today from the Muslim Foster Network, apart, you know, not from the usual Shadi Hussain that we've seen 2 or 3 times a year. So nice to have you there.
Nice to
and I'm
have
sure Shadi will want to come back at some stage.
I'd want us to talk about the, we've got coming up next week, a whole list of events on adoption.
All right.
I'm not sure if we can.
Yeah, I was hoping to put the poster up, but I think because we are running out of time at the moment, we've never got around to it. But inshallah, we'll do something on adoption as well in the near future as well. So maybe yourself or Shadim or somebody else can come along. I hope you found today's sort of episode of Real Talk something of interest and value, and I hope it has engendered within you the aspiration to become a foster parent to these children who are in the care system, who desperately need, you know, a Muslim family to give them that Muslim environment within which to grow up in. It's not going to be easy. A lot of people find it very hard, but they're all of them saying that whenever they've done it, they've found it extremely rewarding. And as is in Islam, the Prophet ﷺ said, you know, to look after an orphan child is one of the highest rewards that, you know, a person can get. Inshallah, I'll see you next week. It's going to be about Palestine, how we can respond, how we can support. So come along, you know, next week. Inshallah, I'll see you then. Take care. May Allah be with you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you both for coming here.
Thank you.